Okay. Good morning, friends. So we'll be starting with our next topic, that is regional development and planning. And just before we continue with the topic, let us look into the topics which we have to study as a part of the syllabus. So there are two topics which we will be doing simultaneously because both of them are interrelated to each other. One is in paper 1, there is topic of regional planning. And if you look into paper 1 itself, models and theories, there are two topics which we will be covering here. One is Peru and Woodville, and second, if you talk about, is the Rostov's model of stages of growth. Okay, so these two topics will be covered here along with the regional planning topic. Okay, even suppose for example ये दोनों topic mention नहीं होते syllabus में, obviously we had to study this because there was, for example, can you see this topic, growth poles and growth centers? So again, we will see the theory of growth poles and growth centers was given by Peru and Woodville. Second topic, can you see this regional imbalances? So again, within regional imbalances, we will be studying several type of theories which are part and parcel of the syllabus, which also includes the Rostov's model of stages of growth. Okay. So even if it was not directly, for example, mentioned, we had to study these two topics. So that is one, paper 1, we will be talking about regional planning. We will be starting with paper 1 and we will continue whatever we will learn in paper 1, will continue its application in paper 2, where the topic is regional development and planning, where you have to talk about experience of regional planning in India, 5-year plans, integrated rural development programs, Panchayati Raj and decentralized planning, command area development, watershed management, others like planning for backward areas including desert, drought prone, hill, tribal area, multi-level planning, regional planning and development of island territories. All of these are part and parcel of the syllabus. We will see कि जो regional planning का topic है, here whatever human geography that we have studied, it will converge. Many of the things which we would have studied in other areas, we will be using them and we will see ki how things can be done in this regional planning topic. Okay, you haven't been given notes here abhi tak because there is some confusion which notes to be given. So इसलिए इनको मिल नहीं रहा था. I was not in Delhi, so I will be providing them today which notes had to be given. Actually, this is a note which I converted it as a part of 500 plus, but वो अलग से मैंने notes बना के रखे हुए हैं. So this is actually there was a previous notes, but मैंने कुछ notes में changes किए हैं, due to which the earlier notes were somewhere around 250 pages. उसको मैंने कम करके I have converted it into somewhere around 100 pages. ठीक है. So that is why I told them not to give the notes till I come. So tomorrow you will be getting your notes. I hope I am clear about this. Okay. So since the notes are very curified and they are very good notes. ठीक है, क्योंकि मैंने बनाया है, सीधी सी बात है. और इसलिए आज हम क्या करने वाले हैं, सबसे पहले we will be starting with the models and theories topic, but first topic से start करेंगे, that is the growth pole theory. ठीक है. Next, before you know that there is Diwali, so before the Diwali break, what we have to do, we have to complete our human geography so that after Diwali we can have a test of entire human geography. And if you talk about also, we can have if you talk about, we can start with the physical geography. ठीक है. ओके, सो सबसे पहले थोड़ा सा मैं सिलेबस को डिकोड कर देता हूँ एंड देन वी विल लुक इनटू द फर्स्ट टॉपिक, दैट इज द ग्रोथ पोल थ्योरी. सो इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द सिलेबस, द टॉपिक इज रीजनल प्लानिंग. Regional planning. So if we talk about this topic of regional planning, यहाँ पर दो words हैं which have been used. One is region and other is planning. ठीक है? So tell me, what is essentially a region? Anyone? What is a region? बताओ भाई. मैंने ये क्वेश्चन ही नहीं पूछा तुमसे. अगर एग्जाम में ऐसे लिखने लगोगे ना कि पहले इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ ऐसे होता था वैसे होता था, क्वेश्चन इज इफ यू लुक इनटू, फॉर एग्जांपल, मैं तुम्हें दिखाता हूं. कैन यू सी दिस क्वेश्चन? दिस इज अ PYQ. क्या लिखा हुआ है? व्हाट इज अ रीजन? और मैं अभी दिखाता हूं तुम्हें कितनी बार ये पूछा जा चुका है. अगेन 2005 में व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन विच इज बीइंग आस्क्ड. देन 2006 में व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन बीइंग आस्क्ड. 2016 में व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन बीइंग आस्क्ड. डू यू गेट माई पॉइंट? इट इज समथिंग विच इज स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, डायरेक्ट. अभी मैं आई कैन कीप ऑन गोइंग. अभी देयर हैव बीन मोर क्वेश्चन. इसमें सारे क्वेश्चंस इंक्लूडेड नहीं है. वन मोर नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स if you talk about what is a region has been asked. So again I am asking you, what is a region? Basically it's a earth surface. Okay. Okay. So can we say region is an area? An area which is unique in terms of selected criteria to define or demarcate it. ठीक है. So essentially it is an area or part of the earth surface which is unique in terms of what? In terms of the selected criteria. For example, अगर मेरा selected criteria topography है, can I identify in India there are 3 regions? Is there a Himalayan region? Then there is the plains and then there is the plateau region. ठीक है. So that is what we call it as a region. Similarly, for example, can we identify region on the basis of other criteria like language? So can I identify the Hindi region? Can I identify the Marathi region? Kannada, Malayalam? So I can go on. Okay. Similarly, I can use other criteria. I can use a socio-economic or economic criteria. For example, if I am using a economic criteria, tell me, can we identify in India the rice regions, the wheat regions, okay, industrial regions? So again, that is what we mean by the term region. So region is a particular area which is unique in terms of the selected criteria which is used to demarcate or define it. Okay, that is what we mean by the term region. So here, if you talk about, there is regional planning, and planning, if you talk about, is basically what? What is planning? Can we say planning? Does it refers to? It refers to formulation and implementation of strategies. Does the planning includes these things? Does it includes formulation of plans and implementing them? Okay, so that is what we essentially mean by the term planning. So obviously you can understand, अगर मुझे regional planning के बारे में लिखना होगा, what we can write, एक definition लिखते हैं, इसको लिखो. Regional planning refers to the process of formulating and implementing strategies that aim to coordinate land use, infrastructure and socio-economic development across a given area that encompasses or that can encompass multiple cities, towns, as well as rural areas. To stop, unlike urban planning, which focuses on individual cities, regional planning, which focuses on individual cities, regional planning looks at a larger scale often across administrative or natural boundaries. Okay, so this is what we mean by the term regional planning. So when we are talking about regional planning, such type of planning is not just about individual village or individual city. It is essentially it is a broader area. Although you can understand, urban planning will also be what? Can I say urban planning will be a subset of regional planning? Okay, it will be a subset of regional planning. But when we are using the term regional planning, generally, if you talk about, it is about a bigger area. And this bigger area will contain several cities, towns, as well as the rural areas. Okay. So if you talk about some key features of regional planning. So if you talk about, one important key feature is the multi-scale focus. इसमें लिखो, regional planning addresses both the local issues as well as larger strategic concerns. as well as larger strategic concerns. ठीक है, for example, tell me, local issues में can we think of issues like housing, ठीक है, transportation development, but when we are talking about the larger issues, can we give examples of larger issues like, for example, economic development, or others like, for example, other larger issue क्या हो सकता है? Can we say environmental issues can be considered as a larger issue? Because environmental issues की boundaries fixed नहीं होती हैं, ठीक है? So if there is degradation taking place of the land, can I say the degradation is not limited to a city? It would be crossing the boundaries. So environmental issues you can think of as that kind of larger issue. So that is one important key feature of regional planning, that it has a multi-scale focus. Also, regional planning, it tries to do what? It tries to integration of different sectors. Integration of different sectors. तो इसमें लिख लो, it integrates several sectors such as agriculture, industry, transportation, housing, and environmental protection. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर सपोज करो कोस्टल रीजन की प्लानिंग करनी है हम, ठीक है, तो कैन आई से कोस्टल रीजन प्लानिंग शुड इंक्लूड नंबर ऑफ थिंग्स. कोस्ट जैसे ही मेरे दिमाग में आता है, कैन आई थिंक ऑफ अ growth pole which will be present in the coastal area. Can I say port can be a growth pole? So locating a port, developing a port can be a beginning of the regional planning of the coastal areas. Similarly, coastal areas अगर हम इंडिया के perspective से देखें, तो can we find that in the coastal areas, do we find that there is presence of coastal plains? Yes or no? Coastal plains मिलते हैं हमें. And plains again, are they associated with agriculture? So will it also include development of agriculture? Obviously it will include. Now if you are doing agriculture, for example, normally development of agriculture would include the extension of green revolution, ठीक है, and if you are developing ports, with the development of ports, will there be development of several industries? Obviously there will be. So if you are doing agriculture and industrial development, tell me, will it involve lots of environmental degradation? ठीक है. So does it means that the regional planning should also include the environmental protection? ठीक है. So again, integration of different sectors is part and parcel of regional planning. Then if you talk about third important thing is, it has a long-term vision. Long-term vision. So इसमें लिखो, regional planning has a long-term approach. Long-term approach, full stop. It commonly involves making plans for 10, 20 or even 50 years into the future. In order to ensure balanced and sustainable in order to ensure balanced and sustainable development. Full stop. For example, in India, the development of Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor is a large-scale regional planning effort with a long-term vision over 20 years. Okay, so these are the key features of regional planning. Then if you talk about what are the objectives, the objectives of regional planning, first important objective of regional planning is balanced regional development. Balanced regional development. तो इसमें लिखो, it aims to reduce regional disparities by ensuring equitable distribution of resources, investments and opportunities across a region. Full stop. It includes development of underdeveloped rural areas. Which could reduce the push-based rural-urban migration. Okay, so one important objective of regional planning is to achieve such kind of balanced regional development. You can understand कि मैंने यहाँ पर एक बहुत important keyword use किया है, equitable. I hope you understand what is difference between equal and equitable. ठीक है, so it doesn't means कि rural areas भी बिल्कुल हाई-फाई metropolitan areas ही बन जाएंगे, but they will have certain levels of basic level of development. Basic amenities would be present in those areas. For example, India में, you know, we have started a scheme by the name of Pura, providing urban amenities in the rural areas. Okay, so some we can define what is that basic level of development which every area should enjoy, and we try to do what? We try to ensure that all the settlements which are present in the region have access to such kind of development. So that is balanced regional development. ठीक है, you can understand कि regional development ऐसा कभी हो ही नहीं सकता है कि everywhere it is same. ठीक है, one of the basic reasons for this is you can understand that there are differences in the regions with respect to many things or the particular settlements. Can I say there can be differences with respect to resource availability? We know it is the nature of resources that they are unevenly distributed on the surface of the earth. ठीक है, also there can be differences in when a particular area started the process of development. Can I say one which started earlier, will it have advantage over others? ठीक है, So again, various type of aspects thus can be found. Okay, so balanced regional development is one of the key. Then second, if you talk about is sustainability. So इसमें लिखो, it seeks to manage natural resources responsibly. Manage natural resources responsibly. In order to minimize environmental degradation. Minimize environmental degradation and promote sustainable land use. Promote sustainable land use. ठीक है, लाइक अगर मुझे फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर देना है तो टेल मी, सपोज आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट हिमालयन रीजन and I have to develop the Himalayan region. Can I say one of the sectors which we can target in the development is tourism? Yes or no? Now, tourism also you can understand that there are various models of tourism. For example, is there a case of resort based tourism होता है? अनदर टाइप, या फिर इसको हम इस तरह से भी लिख सकते हैं, इसको लिख सकते हैं कमर्शियल tourism, and on the other end there will be what we can call it as ecotourism. So tell me, which will be more preferred strategy for the Himalayan region? Obviously it will be ecotourism, because Himalayas, we know, they represent a very fragile ecosystem. Already you can understand कि ये commercial tourism, resort based tourism इतना develop हुआ है in areas में कि it has created several type of problems. Like for example, every year you will be finding Himalayas are facing landslides, floods, ठीक है, which are very devastating. You might see that there is these years, every year you will be finding forest fires taking place in the Himalayas. So one of the reasons is that there is so much groundwater being pumped out that ultimately there is water scarcity being created. And as a result of this water scarcity, what happens? The vegetation dries up. And Britishers के टाइम पर यहाँ पर vegetation, जो natural vegetation था, उसको change करके pine forests plant कर दिए गए थे. ठीक है? And again, pine forests, they are not native to this area and they are very, very prone to fires. So whenever there is ultimately you can understand such kind of heat stress or heat waves taking place, there is very high chance that there can be fires taking place. Okay? So sustainability, if you talk about, is a very important objective of regional planning. Then if you talk about third important objective is the coordination between different jurisdictions. Coordination between different jurisdictions. So इसमें लिखो, since regional planning involves multiple administrative units, comma, it aims coordination and collaboration among them. ठीक है, अगर मुझे इसका एग्जाम्पल देखना है, टेल मी, कैन वी टेक द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ एनसीआर? नेशनल कैपिटल रीजन, ठीक है। तो हम बाद में देखेंगे एनसीआर का को एज अ केस स्टडी लेकर के। टेल मी, डज द एनसीआर इंक्लूड्स एरियाज ऑफ नॉट ओनली दिल्ली but also surrounding areas of Haryana? Does it also include surrounding areas of Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, etc.? So are we encompassing here different jurisdictions? Obviously yes. Similarly NCR में अगर हम देखें तो tell me, is there presence of several cities and towns? Yes or no? तो इन सिटीज एंड टाउन्स में हमें क्या मिलेगा? म्यूनिसिपैलिटीज मिलेंगी, ठीक है। बट इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, देयर आर ऑल्सो व्हाट, रूरल एरियाज इंक्लूडेड, एंड लोकली इफ यू टॉक अबाउट रूरल एरियाज कम अंडर व्हाट, द पंचायती राज सिस्टम्स. So again, what has to be done? There has to be coordination of efforts needed in regional planning. So one of the aims is this one, coordination. Then if you talk about fourth, it is efficient use of infrastructure. Efficient use of infrastructure. तो इसमें लिखो, it aims to develop a coordinated land use, and transportation across a region, across a given region, and transportation across a given region, thereby ensuring that infrastructure is used efficiently. Ensuring that the infrastructure is used efficiently. Thereby ensuring that the infrastructure is used efficiently. For example, tell me, suppose if I want to develop an area, ठीक है, I have to develop some transportation infrastructure. तो सपोज हम बात करते हैं रोड की, तो इंडिया में हायरार्की ऑफ रोड्स, देयर इज नेशनल हाईवेज, देयर इज द स्टेट हाईवेज विच आर प्रेजेंट, देयर आर district roads, then there are urban roads and rural roads. This is the hierarchy of roads which we find in case of India. ठीक है. Now tell me, can I say कि suppose इस एरिया को मुझे डेवलप करना है, तो क्या मैं हर जगह नेशनल हाईवे बना दूंगा? Can I say it is not economically efficient? That will be wastage of infrastructure. ठीक है. So can I say through here one national highway can pass through? This national highway can it be connected with state highways? It can be connected with the state highways. These can in turn, if you talk about, be connected with what? The district roads. And again, in turn, they can be connected with the rural or the urban roads. And through this, can I say, will I be able to cover the entire area efficiently? ठीक है. So that is the another, if you talk about objective or aim of the regional planning. ठीक है. So can you understand that this is what we essentially, it is just a general introduction, अभी बाद में और डिटेल में आएगा. This is what we are going to study, regional planning. We are going to talk about development of not only one or particular settlement, we are going to talk about development of an entire area. ठीक है. So that is what we mean by the term regional planning. And obviously you can understand, इसमें we will be talking about some important theories से start करेंगे. और जो दो मेन थ्योरीज हमें अलग से मेंशन की हुई हैं उनको ज़्यादा डिटेल में पढ़ना है हमें, ठीक है। तो ऑब्वियसली यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड, वन इज द ग्रोथ whole theory of Peru and Woodville, and second if you talk about is the Rostov's model of stages of economic growth. So today we'll be completing this, tomorrow we'll complete this along with some other topics which we'll be doing. So after that we will move on to the idea of others like concept of region, ठीक है। जब हम कंसेप्ट ऑफ रीजन की बात करते हैं तो इसके साथ और एक चीज जुड़ जाती है, टाइप्स ऑफ रीजन। फॉर एग्जांपल हम देखेंगे टाइप्स ऑफ रीजन क्लासिफिकेशन का बेसिस अलग अलग हो सकता है और उसके हिसाब से टाइप ऑफ रीजन्स हो सकता है। लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल टेल मी, कैन देयर बी अ नेचुरल रीजन, कैन देयर बी एन इकोनॉमिक रीजन, कैन देयर बी अ कल्चरल रीजन? देयर आई एम टेकिंग अ डिफरेंट बेसिस, ठीक है। Similarly, the one which we have to focus upon, which is being asked in the examination, it is the case of three type of regions. We'll talk about formal regions, functional regions, and the planning regions. You might have seen this year, किसने किसने पेपर देखा है? Did they ask about planning regions? There was a question on planning regions this year, ठीक है। And included within this concept of regions is the methods of regionalization. So ये methods of regionalization हमने कई जगह पर देखा है, ठीक है। Like for example, sphere of urban influence में मैंने बताया था कि I will be taking up this later on, ठीक है। So methods of regionalization में we will look into two categories, ठीक है। वन इज ऑब्वियसली द ऑब्जर्वेशनल मेथड्स एंड सेकेंड इफ यू टॉक अबाउट इज द केस ऑफ theoretical methods. All of these we will be using to understand the methods of regionalization with respect to these three different type of regions. So we will see when we'll talk about formal regions, वहाँ पर methods different हो जाएंगे. When we'll be looking into functional regions, because their characteristics is different, there the methods will also be different. And planning regions, again it will be combination of formal and functional regions, ठीक है। So that is the methods of regionalization. ये topic UPSC का इतना favorite topic है. It has asked so many questions from this topic of concept of region, types, methods. ठीक है, almost you will be finding every 2-3 years there is a question from this topic. ठीक है, so very very important. And then we will talk about the topic of regional disparities. Partly इस टॉपिक को हमने कुछ लेवल तक देखा है when we talked about economic development measurements. वहां पर मैंने कुछ theoretical frameworks के बारे में introduction किया था, ठीक है। And if you remember, we talked about that economic disparities can be found. अगर हम world level पर देखें तो tell me, economic regional disparities, can we talk about the pattern of regional disparities? Pattern of regional disparities, can I say, can it be found at global level? Is there a north-south divide? Yes or no? There is a global north, there is a global south. So it can be found at global level. That means at a macro level. It can be also found at lower levels. Like for example, can we say can it be present at the inter-country level? Different countries of the world, do they have different levels of regional development? Obviously yes. Can it be also found at the intra country level, different regions of a given country, we will be finding there will be the disparities with respect to development. Like for example, क्या हमने देखा है, is there a north south disparity in Italy? Do we find that northern Italy, is it more developed and industrialized compared to the southern Italy? Did we found similar type of disparity in Britain? We found that southern Britain was more developed compared to the northern Britain. ठीक है, so it can be also found at intra country level. इंडिया में ही देख लें तो there is difference in the development of Maharashtra and Bihar. ठीक है, even within Maharashtra you can find that there are differences. For example, the Konkan region, if you talk about, it is much more developed. As we go into the western Maharashtra region, Marathwada region and Vidarbha region, we will be finding that the development levels will keep on changing. ठीक है, so again if you talk about, there is what? There is intra-country differences. Tell me, can also be there local level differences? Can there be rural urban disparities in the development level? ठीक है, so regional disparities, when we are talking about, we can look at various levels. Definitely we have to also look into the causes of these regional disparities. ठीक है, और causes की बात करें तो ऑब्वियसली यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड, यहां पर हम क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं, वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी अबाउट वेरियस थियोरिटिकल फ्रेमवर्क्स विच ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन द डिस्पैरिटीज, एंड यहां पर एन नंबर ऑफ थ्योरीज, हमें बहुत सारी थ्योरीज पढ़नी है. ठीक है, तो दैट इज द केस ऑफ रीजनल डिस्पैरिटीज. अब इसी से एक जुड़ा हुआ टॉपिक है, एंड दिस टॉपिक इफ यू टॉक अबाउट इज सॉरी, ये टॉपिक सिलेबस में जो मेंशन है रीजनल इम्बैलेंसेस के नाम से था, तो मैंने वहां पे डिस्पैरिटी लिख दिया, तो उसको करेक्ट कर लो, एक ही बात है, रीजनल इम्बैलेंसेस. देन अनदर टॉपिक इज, कैन यू सी दिस, रीजनल डेवलपमेंट स्ट्रैटेजीज. रीजनल डेवलपमेंट स्ट्रैटेजीज. सो यहां पर जो हम थ्योरीज पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है, they also give us what? They also tell us various forms of strategies, which strategy should be used. Again, you can understand कि जो strategy होगी, it will depend upon which strategy we will be choosing. It will depend upon number of factors. How we look, it will depend upon, for example, a broad perspective पे depend करेगा. Like for example, अगर मैं broad perspective की बात करूं, तो people's perspective can be different. Some people's perspective can be more oriented towards capitalism. Other people's perspective can be more oriented towards socialism. ठीक है, so again there can be the aspect of perspective. Other things like for example देखेंगे कि किस तरह से sectoral choice will also be there. Like for example, इंडिया में वी नेग्लेक्टेड द प्राइमरी सेक्टर डेवलपमेंट. ठीक है, आर वी पेइंग द प्राइस इवन टुडे फॉर दैट? ठीक है, वी नेग्लेक्टेड द प्राइमरी सेक्टर डेवलपमेंट. अगर आप अपना प्राइमरी सेक्टर डेवलप नहीं करोगे, कैन आई से इट इज द प्राइमरी सेक्टर विच प्रोवाइड्स रॉ मटेरियल टू द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इंडस्ट्रीज. ठीक है, so India is still paying the price. We do not have a developed manufacturing sector, despite the fact that we have so much of human resource and we are unable to utilize that human resource. ठीक है, so again sectoral development हो सकता है. Others, whether you are going for another dilemma in such regional, adopting such regional development strategies would be, what is your vision with respect to whether you want a top down approach versus बॉटम अप अप्रोच. ठीक है, अब इंडिया जैसी कंट्री जो इतनी बड़ी है और इतनी डाइवर्स है, कैन आई से इंडिया को दोनों ही यूज करने पड़ेंगे. तो हम पेपर 2 के सिलेबस में देखेंगे, देयर इज मल्टी लेवल प्लानिंग, जिसमें वी आर डूइंग व्हाट, वी आर डूइंग बोथ टॉप डाउन एज वेल एज द बॉटम अप अप्रोचेस को मिक्सअप करके करते हैं, ठीक है. सो वी कैन गो ऑन. सो वील टॉक अबाउट सेवरल इश्यूज related with the regional development strategies which have to be looked into, and accordingly the theories or the models of development would be chosen. I hope it is clear. So this is the basic difference between these two topics, although ये दोनों topics बहुत overlapping हैं, regional imbalances and regional development strategies, क्योंकि जो theories regional imbalances को explain करती हैं, same theories also provide us the model of development or regional development. ठीक है. So that is one topic. And then if you talk about, there is environmental issues in regional planning and planning for sustainable development. तो ये दोनों एक दूसरे से related है. तो environmental issues in regional planning and उसी का कंटिन्यूएशन टॉपिक है प्लानिंग फॉर सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट. ठीक है. सो इफ यू टॉक अबाउट दीज टॉपिक्स, टॉपिक ऑफ रीजनल प्लानिंग इज वन ऑफ माय फेवरेट टॉपिक्स ऑफ पेपर 1. ठीक है. व्हाई इट इज वन ऑफ माय फेवरेट टॉपिक्स ऑफ पेपर 1? बिकॉज if you talk about, it has a very high ROI. The return on investment, if you talk about, it is very high. कुल मिलाकर के यहाँ पर गिनती के कुछ टॉपिक्स हैं जो हमें पढ़ने हैं, ठीक है. और उन गिनती के टॉपिक्स में से हर साल कम से कम देयर इज अ वन शॉर्ट नोट, दैट मीन्स 1 10 मार्कर, 1 15 marker and even a 20 marker. That means 3 questions you can find every year from this topic of regional planning. ठीक है. और इसको पूरे टॉपिक को प्रिपेयर करने में मैक्सिमम कितने लगते हैं? लगभग 4 दिन. ठीक है. तो विल बी कंप्लीटिंग इट विद इन 4 क्लासेस एंड यू विल सी दैट उसके बेसिस पर हम एंटायर जितने भी क्वेश्चन आज तक पूछे गए हैं, ठीक है, वी विल बी इन अ पोजीशन टू आंसर देम. मुझे अभी भी याद है कि आज तक ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि इसमें मुझसे कोई टॉपिक मिस हुआ हो, एक्सेप्ट 2016 में व्हेन आई वाज ऑलरेडी अ टीचर, आई हैड मिस्ड दिस कीजन पॉलीगन विच इज अ मेथड ऑफ रीजनलाइजेशन. ठीक है. सो अगर मैं इसको छोड़ दूं तो आज तक ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि जो मैंने क्लास में करवाया हो उसके बाहर से क्वेश्चन पूछा गया. So that is the beauty of this topic. ठीक है. So that is the case of paper 1 regional planning. अब जो यहां पर हमने principles पढ़े, उसी principles के basis पर we will be later talking about the topic of regional development and planning. ठीक है. और इस regional development and planning में भी कुछ general India specific aspects हैं. Like for example, experience of regional planning in India and 5-year plans, इसको मैं एक कैटेगरी ऑफ टॉपिक मानता हूं. ठीक है. तो नाउ आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट रीजनल डेवलपमेंट एंड प्लानिंग. In this, the first set of topics are experience of regional planning in India and 5-year plans. आज की डेट में जो 5-year plans हैं, you know, they have been discontinued. ठीक है. there is a different type of planning which we are doing. So अब I don't think they are going to directly ask you a question on 5-year plan. ठीक है. But again, when you are talking about experience of regional planning in India, can you understand जो framework हम पढ़ेंगे, जिस framework से this experience, can I say it will be the temporal framework, how we started the planning. For example, जो हमारा first 5-year plan था, उसमें हमने फोकस किस पे किया? वी फोकस मोर ऑन एग्रीकल्चर डेवलपमेंट. we had to postpone the industrial development process because India was facing several type of problems. ठीक है, that was the case of the first 5-year plan. फर्स्ट 5-year प्लान में हमने और भी चीज़ें हम देखेंगे कि कम्युनिटी लेवल प्लानिंग भी स्टार्ट किया. ठीक है, सो नंबर ऑफ थिंग्स विल बी लुकिंग इनटू and what were the our experiences with respect to what were the positive outcomes and what have been the negative outcomes of this. ठीक है, so that is why I'm saying both of these are the same type of topic. ठीक है, then if you talk about another is related with integrated rural development programs. The second category of topics we'll talk about is the IRDP, Integrated Rural Development Program. So you know IRDP के नाम से एक स्कीम ही चलती थी पहले. ठीक है, उसी के नाम पे ये बनाया गया है इस टॉपिक को. बट अगेन हम देखेंगे कि दैट स्कीम वाज स्पेसिफिक. व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंटीग्रेटेड रूरल डेवलपमेंट, इट इज अ मोर ब्रॉडर aspect and it would involve so many number of things. ठीक है, then if you talk about अलग अलग एक्चुअली में देर इज मेंशनिंग एट डिफरेंट प्लेसेस. एक टॉपिक यहां पर मेंशन है मल्टी लेवल प्लानिंग. सो वी विल लुक इनटू फॉर एग्जांपल क्यों मल्टी लेवल प्लानिंग इंडिया में हम अडॉप्ट करते हैं. बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड इंडिया इज अ वेरी डाइवर्स कंट्री, इट इज अ वेरी लार्ज कंट्री. तो उसके लिए लोकल लेवल प्लानिंग की भी जरूरत है. But ये diversity, can I say, if the diversity is there, there will be difference in the level of development. There will be various differences in characteristics of different areas. So does it makes threatening for India, or there is a threat to sovereignty of India? तो इसके लिए क्या हमें ज़रूरी है कि एक coordinated level, एक central level की एजेंसी हो जो सारे areas को coordinate करे. तो इंडिया की मजबूरी थी कि दे हैड टू चूज व्हाट मल्टी लेवल प्लानिंग. इनफैक्ट यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड नॉट ओनली दिस, इंडिया हैड 2 big leaders at the time of independence and thus 2 different viewpoints. One was the Nehruvian idea which was more top down approach, and if you talk about another was the Gandhian decentralized approach of development which was more village based model of development. So in दोनों के integration से क्या बना? There was development of the multi level प्लानिंग सेटअप इन इंडिया विच वॉज क्रिएटेड. ठीक है, अब इसी मल्टी लेवल प्लानिंग का ही एक्सटेंशन के तौर पर वी कैन डेफिनेटली लुक इनटू, कैन वी सी दिस टॉपिक पंचायती राज एंड डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड प्लानिंग. सो आई ट्रीट इट एज अ कंटिन्यूएशन ऑफ दिस ओनली, दैट इज पंचायती राज एंड डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड and decentralized planning in India. So this is the third category of topics that we have to deal with. Okay, then if you look into there are other category of topics. अब इंडिया में अगर हम बात करें तो रिसोर्स के बेसिस पर we can divide India into 2 parts. One is resource rich regions, and second, if you talk about our resource deficit regions. तो हम देखेंगे कि जहां पर रिसोर्स रिचनेस है, फॉर एग्जांपल रिसोर्स विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू वाटर, बेटर वाटर अवेलेबिलिटी और बेटर लैंड रिसोर्स. ठीक है, सॉइल रिसोर्स, वहां पर कौन सी स्कीम हम चलाते हैं? कैन यू सी दिस command area development? So here there is the command area development. So what is a command area? Command area is all the area which is being served by a irrigation or multi-purpose project. ठीक है, तो वो सारा एरिया जो एक प्रोजेक्ट सर्व कर रहा है, दैट इज रेफर टू एज द कमांड एरिया. ठीक है, तो अगर मैं इरिगेशन प्रोजेक्ट बना रहा हूँ या फिर मल्टीपर्पज प्रोजेक्ट बना रहा हूँ, टेल मी, कैन आई से सच काइंड ऑफ लार्जर प्रोजेक्ट्स आर दे पॉसिबल ओनली इन एरियाज विच आर रिसोर्स रिच? फॉर एग्जाम्पल जहाँ पर रिवर्स फ्लो कर रही हैं, देर इज इनफ वाटर प्रेजेंट इन द रिवर्स. ठीक है, but there are resource deficit areas. For example, tell me, is there presence of dry areas like drought prone, desert areas, hill areas, tribal areas? ठीक है, so many are backward areas. So यहाँ पर हम कौन सी स्कीम यूज करते हैं? It is watershed. Can you see that? Watershed management. ठीक है, so वहां पर we are using the watershed management approach, which is a more holistic approach compared to the command area development. So this is the next category of topic that we have to study. ठीक है, then if you talk about another category of topic which we essentially have to study as a part of our syllabus, can you see this? Planning for backward area. So we can identify in India there are many backward areas. प्लानिंग फॉर बैकवर्ड एरिया. ठीक है, अब बैकवर्ड एरिया में हम देखेंगे कि हम दो तरीके की अप्रोचेस इंडिया में यूज करते हैं टू आइडेंटिफाई द बैकवर्ड एरियाज. वन इज द इंडेक्स बेस्ड अप्रोच एंड अदर, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, इज द स्पेशल एरिया और प्रॉब्लम एरिया अप्रोच. ठीक है, सो इंडेक्स बेस्ड अप्रोच के बेसिस पर सपोज मुझे आइडेंटिफाई करना है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई टॉक अबाउट बिहार, कैन आई से कि बिहार में सब कुछ है? Does Bihar has very good soil? Fertility of soil in Bihar is higher than the fertility of soil in Punjab. ठीक है, does Bihar also has huge amount of water resources? Again, it is much higher than what is present in Punjab. ठीक है, despite do you find that Bihar is underdeveloped, while if you talk about Punjab, it is much more developed. ठीक है, so there are certain areas जहां पर development, if you talk about, it is more what? It is more institutional. ठीक है, there is presence of resource. Resource is not a barrier there in the process of development. There are other institutional factors which have become a bigger barrier for the development. ठीक है, तो इन जगहों पर सपोज मुझे बिहार को डेवलप करना है, तो क्या एक सेंट्रलाइज सिस्टम लाइक ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन, will it be able to do justice in Bihar? ठीक है, if you take care of certain problems which are more human created problems, then it will be very successful in Bihar. For example, अगर बिहार में if I create a network of rural mandis, APMC mandis, ठीक है, and the government also starts procurement, will it become a very successful? It will definitely become very successful. ठीक है, तो वहां पर सेंट्रलाइज सिस्टम एक कॉमन मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट चलेगा. बट देन देर इज अनदर टाइप ऑफ बैकवर्ड एरियाज विच कैन बी कॉल्ड एज प्रॉब्लम एरियाज. एंड प्रॉब्लम एरियाज में हमें क्या मिलता है? वी फाइंड दैट देर इज दिस सेकेंड सिनारियो फाउंड, दे आर डेफिसिट इन सम ऑफ द रिसोर्स. दिस कैन बी अ लैंड रिसोर्स, इट कैन बी, if you talk about energy resource, it can be water resource, but there is some kind of deficit found. ठीक है, there can be also cultural backwardness which can be found, and as a result of which what we find, they are backward areas or they are underdeveloped areas. तो suppose करो कि मैं ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन लेकर के पहुंच जाऊं राजस्थान में, डेजर्ट एरिया, कैन आई से इन ऑल लाइकलीहुड इट इज गोइंग टू फेल? ठीक है, क्या मुझे वहां के लिए कुछ स्पेशल अप्रोच डेवलप करनी पड़ेगी? ऑब्वियसली करनी पड़ेगी. अभी हमने हिमालयन रीजन की बात की विच इज अ हिल एरिया, एंड इफ आई टॉक अबाउट हिल एरिया डेवलपमेंट एंड फॉर एग्जांपल आई प्रमोट ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन. ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन एक तरह से ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन क्या है? इट इज अ ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन. कैन आई से इट विल अल्टीमेटली लीड टू लॉट्स ऑफ एनवायरमेंटल डिग्रेडेशन एंड मोर बिगर प्रॉब्लम्स विल बी क्रिएटेड इन द हिमालयन रीजन? तो कैन आई से हिमालयन रीजन के लिए मुझे इस तरह के एग्रीकल्चर को टारगेट करना पड़ेगा विच इज मोर रेम्यूनरेटिव एंड लेस डिग्रेडिंग एनवायरमेंटली. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल, टेल मी, कैन देयर बी डेवलपमेंट ऑफ प्लांटेशन एग्रीकल्चर ऑन द स्लोप्स ऑफ द हिमालयास? दैट इज वन टाइप ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर विच कैन बी डेवलप्ड. अदर फॉर्म्स ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर लाइक थिंक अबाउट मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स. मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स क्या करते हैं? विल दे fetch more value obviously they will do. ठीक है, and they are less degrading. So for the hilly areas you will need certain kind of permanent cover agriculture. ठीक है, so again different areas will have their own different requirements. So एक syllabus का part कहता है planning for the backward area, जहां पर हम देखेंगे बहुत सारी जो committees etc बनी, how they have tried to define the backward areas in case of India. ठीक है, simultaneously there is some backward areas which are mentioned in the syllabus. ठीक है, और एक तरह के backward areas जो mention है, like can you see this desert, drought prone, hill, tribal area development. तो ये सारे के सारे हमारे क्या हैं, कैन वी क्लासिफाई देम एज द बैकवर्ड और द प्रॉब्लम एरियाज और स्पेशल एरियाज. ठीक है, सो डेजर्ट, ड्रॉट प्रोन, हिल, ट्राइबल. 2008 में सिलेबस चेंज हुआ और एक और एरिया ऐड कर दिया गया, एंड दैट इज आइलैंड टेरिटरीज. आइलैंड टेरिटरीज. ठीक है, अगर हम कमिटीज को देखें तो कमिटीज ने बहुत सारे सच काइंड ऑफ स्पेशल एरियाज को मेंशन किया. वन ऑफ द स्पेशल एरिया विच इज मेंशन्ड बाय वेरियस कमिटीज ऑन रीजनल डेवलपमेंट, बट आवर सिलेबस डजंट मेंशन इट, बट हम उसको देख लेंगे, एंड दैट इज द बॉर्डर एरियाज. ठीक है, प्रॉबेबली उन्होंने इसलिए मेंशन नहीं किया है बिकॉज यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड दैट देयर इज द पॉलिटिकल इशू टॉपिक. पॉलिटिकल एस्पेक्ट्स टॉपिक में एक टॉपिक है क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म. तो इम्प्लिसिटली यहाँ वहाँ पर हम जो बॉर्डर एरिया के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको पढ़ते हैं. ठीक है, तो प्रॉब्ली बिकॉज ऑफ दैट दे हैवंट मेंशन्ड. सो दीज आर द 5 कैटेगरी ऑफ टॉपिक्स विच आर पार्ट ऑफ योर पेपर 2. आई होप इट इज क्लियर. ठीक है, सो हम देखेंगे कि सब में अलग अलग कौन कौन से मेथड्स लग सकते हैं. I don't want to disturb the class. Is it too late to start my optional classes if I am serious for 2025 attempt? Is it too late? Answer करो भाई. देखो, the word too is very subjective. ठीक है, why I am saying this because guidance IAS का जो पहला रिजल्ट था, it was of a girl who came to me in January. ठीक है, she had already studied, और उसका नाम है शिवी सांगवान. she got selected to IRS, और when she came to me, उसका पहले जो ऑप्शनल था it was public administration, and she was not getting results from PUBAD, so she realized कि वो PUBAD वाला aptitude नहीं है. So she had a more scientific type of aptitude, so she preferred कि geography, because you study geography in GS, so she liked geography very much, so she shifted to geography that year. I tried to, मैंने भी, मेरे लिए भी बहुत नया था कि इतनी लेट कैसे कोई शुरू करेगा, and ultimately how it will be. तो मैंने उसको बोला कि फिर भी सोच समझ के you think about it properly and then decide, because changing optional is a very big task. बट उसका एक बिल्कुल क्लियर था कि नहीं नहीं, मुझे इस साल सेलेक्ट होना है, पबैट से नहीं हो रहा है, और अगर मैं इस साल सेलेक्ट नहीं हुई तो मेरी शादी कर देंगे घर वाले. तो उसका मोटिवेशन बहुत क्लियर था. विद इन दैट पीरियड बिफोर द प्रीलिम्स शी वाज एबल टू कंप्लीट 60% ऑफ द सिलेबस. प्रीलिम्स के बाद उसने रेस्ट ऑफ द सिलेबस पढ़ा, एंड शी गॉट वेल डिसेंट मार्क्स. दैट टाइम इफ यू टॉक अबाउट समवेयर 300 के आसपास गुड मार्क्स होते थे. तो शी गॉट, आई रिमेंबर, इन 270s में उसके मार्क्स है. ठीक है, कैन यू अंडरस्टैंड कि इतने कम टाइम में पढ़ के एक नया सब्जेक्ट, ज्योग्राफी जैसा सब्जेक्ट, अल्टीमेटली शी वाज एबल टू डू. ठीक है, सो अगेन इट इज़ वेरी सब्जेक्टिव, इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन हाउ मेनी डिस्ट्रैक्शंस यू हैव इन लाइफ. जैसे कि मैं यहाँ पर देख सकता हूँ कितने सारे लोग बैठे हुए हैं, और टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, टू बी वेरी फ्रैंक, सच बताऊं तो मुझे बहुत कम उम्मीद है. सच में बता रहा हूं, बिकॉज वेरी बेसिक थिंग्स विच आई टीच टू यू आई फाइंड कि मैं जब तुमसे दोबारा पूछता हूं तो तुम लोग बता नहीं पाते हो, और वो कुछ ऐसी बेसिक चीजें हैं, बेसिक डेफिनेशंस हैं जो अगर आपको नहीं आती हैं तो हाउ अल्टीमेटली द एग्जामिनर इज गोइंग टू जज यू। एग्जामिनर इस तरह से तुम्हारी कॉपी को चेक नहीं करेगा, वहां पे लिखोगे कि वहां पर एक इंडस्ट्री थी और ऐसे था और वैसे था, ठीक है। तो देयर इज अ वेरी हाई पॉसिबिलिटी, इफ आई वाज एन एग्जामिनर, मैं कहूंगा कि इसको तो आता ही नहीं है बेसिक्स, और फटाफट दे करके वो 2-3 मार्क्स दे करके 20-30% मार्क्स आगे निकल जाऊंगा। हो सकता है तुमने लिखा भी हो बाद में, ठीक है। सो इट इज वेरी सब्जेक्टिव, एवरी पर्सन हैज हिज ओन वे ऑफ डूइंग थिंग्स। इफ यू prepare a strategy from where you don't get distracted, there are lots of distractions in the market। हर जगह पर नए जादू की छड़ी लेकर के लोग घूम रहे हैं। एवरी कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, देयर आर सेवरल टीचर्स, यूट्यूब पे यू विल फाइंड कि ऐसे जादूगर बहुत सारे हैं, तो जो तुमको कहते हैं कि जादू की छड़ी घुमाएंगे और तुम्हारा सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा, और ज़्यादातर लोग उसी जादू की छड़ी में घूमते रहते हैं। And ultimately, the most important thing, the most basic thing is mugging up the basic content. उसको छोड़ करके UPSC aspirants are doing everything. ठीक है, all of them, 99.9% of the people are doing what they are involved in। देखो, एक होता है बेसिक, और फिर उसके बाद नेक्स्ट स्टेज आती है enrichment। So what is the case? यूपीएससी की 99.9% जनता ये कर रही है, एनरिचमेंट में लगी हुई है, और हियर द इंटेलिजेंट 0.1% पीपल आर इन्वॉल्व। दीज विल गेट सेलेक्टेड, ठीक है। एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूं। एक टॉपिक बच गया है इंडस्ट्रियल ज्योग्राफी में, इंडस्ट्रियल रीजन्स एंड टूरिज्म, ठीक है। एंड ग्रुप में कितनी बार वो मैसेज आ गया, इंडस्ट्रियल रीजन कब होगा, इंडस्ट्रियल रीजन कब होगा। अभी एक क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा ऑफ व्हाट वी हैव डन, वी हैव कवर्ड 90% ऑफ द इंडस्ट्रियल ज्योग्राफी सिलेबस। इफ आई आस्क वन क्वेश्चन, अभी टेस्ट में देखूंगा सबकी कॉपी, जिसने लिखा था ग्रुप में उसकी तो जरूर देखूंगा। ओके, आगे बढ़ते हैं। आई होप यू गॉट द आंसर। सो नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज द टॉपिक ऑफ ग्रोथ पोल्स एंड ग्रोथ centers। Growth poles and growth centers, and this is also mentioned in the syllabus। ये तो रीजनल प्लानिंग में मेंशन है, जैसा कि अभी हमने देखा। इट इज मेंशन इन द टॉपिक ऑफ रीजनल प्लानिंग, ग्रोथ सेंटर्स एंड ग्रोथ पोल्स, एंड इट इज ऑल्सो मेंशन्ड इन मॉडल्स एंड थ्योरीज एज पेरू एंड वुडेविल, ठीक है। सो इट इज ऑल्सो mentioned as Peru and Woodville, who were the scholars who developed this theory of growth poles and growth centers। ठीक है। So in this what we are going to do, we'll give first a general introduction to the concept, then we will essentially talk about the case of first the Peru concept of growth poles and growth centers. Then we'll talk about the Woodville's concept. So Woodville, we will see, was a student of Peru who modified the concept. Peru developed the concept more as an economic concept. Woodville converted it to a geographical concept. ठीक है, and then we'll talk about the general propositions. General propositions of the growth pole, growth centers. And we will see there are certain general propositions, like we will talk about the concept of propulsive firms and leading industry. Concept of propulsive firms and leading industry. Then if you talk about the second very important concept related with that is the concept of polarization and agglomeration. Polarization and agglomeration. And third, if you talk about, is what we call it as the trickle down effect. The spread effects or the trickle down effects. So these are the three general propositions of the growth pole theory. Okay. Then we will look into the criticism of the growth pole theory. Of the theory. So we'll look into the various criticism, and then we will also look into the application of the theory. Application of the growth pole theory. Okay. So these are the things which we are going to talk about. Okay. So if we first talk about some general aspects of the growth pole theory, so सबसे पहले लिखते हैं introduction. So इसमें लिखो, a French regional economist, Francis Peru introduced the concept of growth pole in 1955. In 1955. Full stop. According to this concept, the public investment programs will have maximum effects on regional growth regional मत लिखो, will have maximum effect on economic growth if concentrated in some chosen sector of the economy. Which has maximum forward and backward linkages. full stop. You can, even if you want, you can change the paragraph. This idea of growth pole of Peru, or this economic concept of Peru, this economic concept of Peru was later modified by his disciple, Baudeville, who gave geographical content to the theory. Change the paragraph again. In effect, the concept of growth pole and growth centers growth poles and growth centers is based upon certain assumptions of the real world. तो फर्स्ट assumption की बात करें, इसमें लिखो ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज मस्ट क्लस्टर टुगेदर. Human activities must cluster together to generate economies of scale. You have studied about what is economies of scale? Second, if clustering is allowed, it may entail heavy social costs. It may entail or involve heavy social cost due to congestion, giving rise to diseconomies of scale and spatial imbalances in social and economic development. ठीक है. Third is this process which creates spatial imbalances, in economic development can be directed through policy interventions to generate growth foci in backward regions. So these are some of the assumptions. एक assumption है कि clustering of activities is a natural process which is taking place. For example, अगर हम देखें तो is there clustering of activities which is the basic of origin of settlements? Different type of settlements होते हैं, rural होता है, urban होता है, and in each of them do we find that there is clustering of activities? the level of clustering will vary from settlement to settlement, but it is something which is a common phenomenon. The greater is the clustering, what will happen? There will be greater economies of scale generated. Okay? When there is economies of scale generated, there will be a problem which is related with that. Diseconomies of scale हो सकते हैं. Other places में there can be spatial imbalances which can be created. Some areas can grow more than the other. ठीक है? So that is the second point. So suppose एक area था जहां पर हर जगह पर पहले village थे. ठीक है? So ये सभी क्या थे? These were all villages which were there. And there was a chosen area which was developed as what? A central place or a growth pole. So now when it is being developed, tell me, does it means that is there now creation of an spatial imbalance? One area is more developed than the other. In fact, because there are more economic opportunities here, will investment and even resource and people, will they polarize towards this point? Obviously, yes. So ये जो places हैं, will they become devoid of many resources? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आज की डेट में मैं यूपी और बिहार के विलेजेस में जाऊं, तो वन वेरी कॉमन थिंग विच वी विल बी फाइंडिंग कि जो हम इंडिया के लेवल पर, नेशनल लेवल पर जो बात करते हैं ब्रेन ड्रेन, आर दीज विलेज एरियाज, रूरल एरियाज एक्सपीरियंसिंग अ सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ ब्रेन ड्रेन? ऑब्वियसली यस. ठीक है. तो व्हाट विल हैपन? देयर विल बी क्रिएशन ऑफ डिस्पैरिटीज. सच काइंड ऑफ डिस्पैरिटीज विल बी क्रिएटेड. So this theory says that these disparities are what? These are natural processes. It will happen. What we can at best do, we can use this phenomena. ये जो phenomena है, इसको use करके हम उन areas में growth को induce कर सकते हैं जहां पर backwardness है. ठीक है? So these are the 3 points which we have written here. That is basically the general aspect of the theory. ये assumptions जो हमने लिखे बहुत काम के हैं. We'll see. कई बार मैंने देखा कि I have given question on application of growth pole theory or utility or contemporary relevance of growth pole theory. ठीक है? Most of the people will not use these keywords which were given in assumption. Why growth pole theory has utility? Because can we say that it identifies a process which it calls that it is a natural universal process which will be taking place? And on the basis of that, what it does, it says that this can be used through policy directions to create growth momentum in areas where they do not exist. ठीक है? So again, ये keywords है which examiner is trying to look into your answers when he is reading such kind of questions. ठीक है? So that is the case. सबसे पहले आते हैं the Peru hypothesis. ठीक है. फर्स्ट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज पेरू. अभी लिखते हैं इसको, पहले मैं समझा देता हूं. पेरू इज वेरी क्लियर दैट ही डज नॉट वांट्स टू गिव अ ज्योग्राफिकल थ्योरी. His concept of growth pole is basically what? It is an economic concept. Why he did not want to give a geographical theory? Because he felt that there was already a geographical theory which existed in the form of central place theory. Because essentially central place theory is also talking about same growth poles as central places. Okay? So he is not much interested in providing a geographical theory. He felt that there is a gap in theory. And what is the gap in theory? The gap is that there is scarcity of theories which explain the process through which this economic growth is taking place. And thus his major focus is on providing that theory which explains this process of economic growth. And thus his theory is essentially what? It is economic. Although he did acknowledge later on that his theory also has geographical dimensions. Okay, because those areas or those sectors which he is talking about, those industries, those firms which he is talking about, they will be always present where? In some geographical space. Okay, and where these, for example, we will see he talks about the concept of propulsive firms. तो सपोज करो कि कोई propulsive फॉर्म है, इंडिया में बहुत सारी propulsive फॉर्म्स है which either belong to the PSUs or to the private sector. ठीक है, so suppose if there is a propulsive firm like Reliance Industries, कह रही से उसके कुछ specific locations होंगे and where these firms will be located, production centers will be located. तो जहां पर भी वो located होगा, क्या उस एरिया को geographical advantage मिलेगा? Definitely it will be there. So he did acknowledge that it can be, there is also a geographical element to his theory, but that was not his concern because central place theory was already talking about that geographical aspect. ठीक है. It was later, as I said, Woodville, he tried to convert this theory to a geographical theory. I hope it is clear. तो सबसे पहले एक लाइन लिखते हैं, देखो इसमें. One of the basic objectives of Peru hypothesis or theory, one of the basic objective of Peru's hypothesis or theory is to develop a dynamic theory of economic growth taking the concept of innovative firms as the starting point. Taking the concept of innovative firms as the starting point. So stop. Peru is very clear. Is very clear that his theory of growth pole, is an economic theory. So stop. He felt that a spatial theory, spatial मतलब geographical theory, a spatial theory explaining such growth poles already existed in the form of central place theory. Full stop. However, he believed that there was no such theory which explains the economic processes through which such growth occurs. Full stop. Thus, his interest in developing a economic theory of growth pole. Full stop. However, Peru did acknowledge that his theory had geographical dimensions. Geographical or spatial dimensions as innovative forms will have some geographical location. Some geographical location. ठीक है, but one thing is very clear, he did not develop the spatial aspect of the theory. तो इसमें लिख लो to stop, but he did not develop the spatial aspect of the theory. So अगर हम बात करें पेरू की, पेरू developed his theory based upon Schumpeter's, he developed his theory based upon Schumpeter's analysis, based upon Schumpeter's analysis of economic development. Schumpeter's analysis of economic development. According to Schumpeter, economic development occurs as a result of discontinuous spurts in a dynamic world. Discontinuous spurts in a dynamic world. ठीक है, इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? इसका मतलब सिंपल है कि इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, सपोज हियर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इकोनॉमिक growth and here we are talking about time. So the economic growth is not taking place like uniformly. ठीक है, economic growth is not like this. How economic growth is taking place? As a discontinuous spurts. ठीक है, so these periods when these spurts of economic growth are taking place, these are related with what? T1, T2. That means these are periods of technological innovations. Technological innovations. ठीक है, like for example, can you understand there was a rivalry going on in USA in two firms, and these two firms were General Motors and Ford Motors. ठीक है, and both of these did what? They created technological innovations, and this technological innovations in turn what it did it develop the automobile industry? और ये automobile industry, can I say, was it located somewhere? It was located in Detroit. So did it create growth in Detroit? Did Detroit become a growth pole? ठीक है, so that is the basic idea. So what is happening? There is technological innovation. जब भी technological innovations होंगी तो उससे क्या होगा? Growth बढ़ जाएगा. ठीक है, like for example, if there was technological innovation in the form of green revolution, did it lead to greater growth in agriculture sector in areas where green revolution was implemented? Obviously yes. ठीक है. So growth, if you talk about, always occurs in this fashion. That is the Schumpeter's idea of economic development. I hope it is clear. ठीक है, आगे लिखो. Peru has used this conception of Schumpeter and applied it to develop his growth pole theory. Change the paragraph, आगे लिखो. According to Peru, it is the large scale firms which are involved in development of such technological innovations. Full stop. These firms are referred to as dynamic propulsive firms. Full stop. It is the dynamic propulsive firms. Which invest in innovation. And create technological breakthroughs leading to spurts in growth. What is spurts in growth? स्पर्ट का मतलब क्या होता है? सडन एक्सेलरेशन. स्पर्ट इज सडन एक्सेलरेशन इन ग्रोथ. ठीक है. देन नेक्स्ट पॉइंट उसी का नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में लिखो. दीज डायनेमिक प्रोपल्सिव फॉर्म्स बिलोंग टू the leading propulsive industry. To stop, the leading propulsive industry is the one where advanced level of technology has developed and has strong advanced level of technology has developed and has strong backward and forward linkages. Full stop. These backward and forward linkages create economic forces polarizing towards poles, polarizing towards poles of development. Full stop. From these poles, there is also generation of centrifugal forces. From these poles, there is also generation of centrifugal forces. ठीक है, अब देखो यहां पर मैंने क्या किया है, ताकि रिपीटिशन ना हो इसलिए मैंने इन सारे जो टर्म्स हमने यूज किए हैं उनको अभी डिटेल में नहीं लिखवाया, ठीक है, क्योंकि हम उसको डिटेल में कहां पर लिखने वाले हैं, व्हेन विल टॉक अबाउट द जनरल प्रोपोजिशन, दोनों का जब कंबाइन करके ग्रोथ पोल थ्योरी के बारे में लिखेंगे तो वहां पर वी विल टॉक अबाउट द कंसेप्ट ऑफ प्रोपल्सिव फॉर्म्स एंड लीडिंग इंडस्ट्री कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स, ठीक है। आई होप इट इज क्लियर। वहां पर हम बात करेंगे ये पोलराइजेशन, अभी हमने क्या बोला कि वेयर सेंट्रिपिटल फोर्सेस आर जनरेटेड टुवर्ड्स पोल देयर इज पोलराइजेशन टेकिंग प्लेस, ठीक है, एंड centrifugal forces are also generated from the poles, that means there will also be trickle down, ठीक है। So basic idea of Peru's hypothesis is essentially what? It is something like this. इसको हम मान लेते हैं कि it is a geographical space, sorry, it is a economic space, ठीक है। So इस economic space में think about this, suppose there is the primary sector industries which are located, there is secondary sector, and then there is a tertiary sector industries which are located here, ठीक है। Suppose we are choosing secondary sector industries, ठीक है, where those firms which he is talking about, large firms, are located, and here in the secondary sector those firms are doing what? They are leading to technological innovations which is generating those growth momentums, and once these growth momentums are generated, can I say economic forces, if they are free, economic forces का मतलब resources, capital, everything will polarize where? Can I say towards this secondary sector, ठीक है, उसकी तरफ polarization होगा, और इसका मतलब इस सेक्टर की ग्रोथ क्या होगी? This sector will grow, so this sector will keep on growing, ठीक है, but ultimately क्या होता है? There is also diseconomies, investment अगर बहुत ज़्यादा होने लगा तो what will be there? There will be diseconomies of scale will also be generated, ठीक है। So ultimately what will happen? The growth will also spiral out. The growth is also spiraling out because this sector has backward linkage and it also has what? A forward linkage. So because of that, what will happen? The growth of other sectors will also take place, ठीक है। तो इससे क्या होगा? पूरी इकोनॉमी की ग्रोथ ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम होगी। आई होप यू गेट माय पॉइंट, ठीक है। सो देयर इज क्रिएशन ऑफ व्हाट? ट्रिकल डाउन इज ऑल्सो क्रिएटेड, वेयर द ग्रोथ विल ट्रिकल डाउन टू अदर sectors as well. Why the growth is trickling down to other sectors? Because there is forward and backward linkages associated with that particular sector. यानी कि पेरू के कंसेप्ट में पोल क्या है? इट इज दैट इंडस्ट्री, दैट सेक्टर इज द पोल। आई होप यू गेट माई पॉइंट। दिस इज एन इकोनॉमिक स्पेस, ये ज्योग्राफिकल स्पेस नहीं है। जैसे अगर मैं इमेजिन करूं तो इंडियन इकोनॉमी का एक स्पेस मान सकते हैं। इज देयर एन इंडियन इकोनॉमी? आज की डेट में अगर मैं इंडियन इकोनॉमी में देखूं तो डू वी फाइंड कि गवर्नमेंट बहुत कुछ ऐसी इंडस्ट्रीज है जिसको प्रमोट करने की कोशिश कर रहा है? लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल, कैन वी थिंक ऑफ फार्मास्यूटिकल एज वन सच इंडस्ट्री which the government is trying to promote? Is automobile one such industry which the government has tried to promote? ठीक है, because ultimately what is taking place, there is forward and backward linkages associated with them. तो उसका backward linkage किसके साथ है? अदर इंडस्ट्रीज के साथ है, आयरन एंड स्टील के साथ है, रबर इंडस्ट्री के साथ है, ठीक है। और उसका फॉरवर्ड लिंकेज किसके साथ होगा? विल इट बी एसोसिएटेड विद सर्विसेज? it will be associated with services. Okay. So again, if growth is taking place in the automobile and India becomes an important producer of automobile, supplier of automobile to the world, will this growth trickle down to other sectors? Yes or no? I hope you get my point. क्योंकि एक क्वेश्चन जो अभी तक नहीं पूछा गया एग्जाम में वो पूछा जा सकता है. It will be as a short note, the difference between the concepts of Peru and Woodville on growth pole. ठीक है. So for Peru, growth pole क्या है? It represents the sector or industry. ठीक है. That is essentially the growth pole. तो पेरू के लिए ग्रोथ पोल क्या है? It is this leading propulsive industry is essentially what? It is the growth pole for Peru. I hope you get my point. ठीक है. तो ये लीडिंग प्रोपल्सिव इंडस्ट्री में ग्रोथ हो रहा है जिसकी वजह से उसका सेक्टोरल ग्रोथ वहां पर हो रहा है एंड अल्टीमेटली द ग्रोथ इज ट्रिकलिंग डाउन बिकॉज देयर इज प्रेजेंस ऑफ फॉरवर्ड एंड बैकवर्ड लिंकेजेस. बात समझ में आ गई? तो दैट इज द बेसिक आइडिया ऑफ पेरू. आगे बढ़ते हैं. यस, इट इज द सेक्टर. जैसे इंडिया के टर्म्स में अगर अभी हम देखें तो क्या हम अपनी ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री को ग्रोथ पोल बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं? ठीक है. इट इज द ग्रोथ पोल, ग्रोथ इंजन एक तरह से. ठीक है. सो नेक्स्ट इज वुडविल कंट्रीब्यूशन या कंसेप्शन. तो इसमें लिखो इट वाज वुडविल हु गेव ज्योग्राफिकल कंटेंट. It was Woodville who gave geographical content to Peru's economic growth pole. Full stop. He defined a growth pole as a set of expanding industries located in an urban area. And it includes further development of economic activity through its zone of influence. Further development of economic activity through its zone of influence. Full stop. The place where these expanding industries are located becomes the pole of economic development in the region. Full stop. Presence of such poles gives rise to agglomeration tendencies. Full stop. Such tendencies arise because because of external economies, resulting from polarization of economic activities. ये सब अभी मैं एक्सप्लेन करूंगा. तो these keywords, एग्लोमरेशन टेंडेंसी का जो कीवर्ड है, दिस इज कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ whom? It is the contribution of Woodville, beside making it a geographical concept. So we will see he talks about what type of agglomeration tendencies are there. So this is the main contribution of Woodville to the theory of growth pole. ठीक है? Then now coming to the general propositions of the theory. General propositions of the theory of growth pole and growth center. तो इसमें लिखो, based on the writings of Peru and Woodville, based on the writings of Peru and Woodville, three important propositions of the growth pole theory can be derived. ग्रोथ पोल थ्योरी कैन बी डिराइव्ड. ठीक है. सो ये कौन सी है? सबसे पहले है कंसेप्ट ऑफ डायनामिक propulsive form and leading propulsive industry. Dynamic propulsive form and leading propulsive industry. तो इसमें लिखो, फर्स्ट हम बात कर रहे हैं कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ डायनामिक propulsive forms. Dynamic propulsive forms. So first characteristic क्या है? It is relatively large form. It is relatively large form with high capacity of investment. Then it has high ability to innovate. High ability to innovate as it invests in research and development. Research and development. Third, it belongs to a relatively fast growing sector. It belongs to a relatively fast growing sector of the economy. Fast growing sector of the economy. And what is this fast growing sector of the economy? It is this sector in which the leading propulsive industry is located. ठीक है, सो लीडिंग प्रोपल्सिव जो इंडस्ट्री है वो इस सेक्टर को बिलोंग करती है. जैसे कि हमने अभी ऑटोमोबाइल का नाम लिया, तो ऑटोमोबाइल क्या है? डज इट बिलोंग्स टू कंज्यूमर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर. ठीक है, सो दैट इज द फास्ट ग्रोइंग सेक्टर ऑफ द इकोनॉमी. जब नेहरू महालनोबिस मॉडल का एप्लीकेशन हो रहा था, तो विच सेक्टर वॉज चोजन? इट वॉज द बेसिक इंडस्ट्रीज. ठीक है, बेसिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्रीज, where the focus was more on such kind of primary industries like iron and steel, cement, such kind of industries were more focused upon. Okay, so this is the third important characteristic of the dynamic propulsive forms. आगे लिखो इसमें fourth, the quantity and intensity of its interrelations with other sectors. The quantity and intensity of its interrelations with other sectors of the economy are important for the growth effects to be transmitted to them. For the growth effects to be transmitted to them. ठीक है, सो थिंक अबाउट दिस. अगर एक आयरन एंड स्टील इंडस्ट्री है, तो क्या उसका रिलेशनशिप अदर इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज के साथ उसका रिलेशनशिप है? ऑब्वियसली है. फॉर एग्जांपल, इज इट रिलेटेड विथ माइनिंग, आयरन और माइनिंग, कोल माइनिंग? ठीक है, विल इट ऑल्सो बी रिलेटेड विथ अदर सर्विसेज, लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल द पीपल हु आर वर्किंग इन द इंडस्ट्री, दे विल बी गेटिंग एम्प्लॉयमेंट, they'll be getting income, and will this income generation lead to demand for various type of services? ठीक है, so it has also forward linkages. और यहाँ पर forward linkages के terms में, can it give rise to development of automobile industry or other forms of industries like machinery? ठीक है, so it will have what? Backward and forward linkages. ठीक है, so this is the concept of dynamic propulsive forms. Then characteristics of leading propulsive industry. So what are the characteristics of leading propulsive industry? Likho, it has highly advanced level of technology. It has highly advanced level of technology. And managerial expertise. Highly advanced level of technology and managerial expertise. Then second, if you talk about, it has high income elasticity. High income elasticity of demand for its products. Of demand for its products. Then third, it has marked local multiplier effect. Marked local multiplier effect. And fourth, strong inter-industry linkages. Strong inter-industry linkages with other sectors. With other sectors. ठीक है, so that is the characteristics of the leading propulsive industry. ठीक है, second point, income elasticity का मतलब क्या है कि even if income is changing, there is still what? Demand for its products is there. देन फोर्थ पॉइंट में हमने क्या लिखा, इट हैज स्ट्रॉन्ग इंटर इंडस्ट्री लिंकेजेस, इसी फोर्थ पॉइंट का एक्सटेंशन है, सच इंटर इंडस्ट्री लिंकेजेस are of two types. First, if you talk about is the backward linkages. तो इसमें लिखो, an industry encourages investments in the earlier stages of production. Investment in the earlier stages of production by expanding its demand for inputs. Its demand for inputs. ठीक है, लाइक अभी हमने देखा था एग्जाम्पल अगर हम लें तो वन वेरी गुड एग्जाम्पल इज द आयरन एंड स्टील इंडस्ट्री. So as the iron and steel industry as it expands, it generates greater demand for raw material like iron ore and coal. Iron ore and coal. Tell me, will it give boost to the mining industry, which will in turn give boost to the mining industry? Mining industry. So it has backward linkages. So that means अगर iron and steel का growth हो रहा है तो will it automatically mean that the mining sector will also grow? ठीक है, या फिर सपोज करो अदर एग्जाम्पल टेक, इफ देयर इज ग्रोथ ऑफ शुगर इंडस्ट्री टेकिंग प्लेस, does it automatically means that the sugar cane cultivation in India will grow? Obviously it will grow. ठीक है, so that is first. Second, if you talk about is the forward linkages. तो इसके अंदर लिखो, an industry encourages the subsequent stages of production. The subsequent stages of production, either by transmitting innovations, or effects of innovations forward. Effects of innovation forward. ठीक है, अब इसमें हम एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं अगेन. लेट अस अगेन टेक द आयरन एंड स्टील इंडस्ट्री. So tell me, growth in iron and steel industry, that is innovations in iron and steel industry, will they mean that the cost of iron and steel will reduce? Yes or no? तो लिख लो इसको, innovations, for example, innovations in iron and steel industry would imply the cost, innovations in iron and steel industry would imply that the cost, comma, and thus the price comma of the iron and steel will reduce. Iron and steel will reduce. Full stop. This in turn will provide favorable environment for subsequent industries to grow. Favorable environment for subsequent industries to grow, like engineering industries. उसी का एक सेगमेंट क्या है? ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री. ठीक है. इज देयर use of iron and steel in construction industry? So again, a forward linkage is what? Construction industry can be a forward linkage. ठीक है. So again, it is transmitting growth जो वहां पर हो रहा है, that growth is also transmitted to the other sectors. So this is the concept of forward and backward linkages. I hope you get my point. So that is this concept of forward and backward linkages. Can you see this? 2018 में एक क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है. Write a note on forward and backward linkages in Peru thesis of economic growth and regional development. It was asked as a short note, 10 marker. ठीक है. I can bet my life for this that ये क्वेश्चन पूछा जा चुका है. दैट मीन्स यूपीएससी हैज क्लियरली शोन अ ट्रेंड कि दे कैन आस्क यू पार्ट्स ऑफ द थ्योरी इन द एग्जामिनेशन. ठीक है. एंड अगेन आई एम सेइंग आई कैन बेट माय लाइफ ऑन दिस कि अगर मैं अभी कल को अपने गाइडेंस आईएएस के टेस्ट में पूछ लूं, एग्जामिन द कंसेप्ट ऑफ लीडिंग इंडस्ट्री एंड प्रोपल्सिव फॉर्म्स. ठीक है. 100 में से 99 लोग ये सारी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स नहीं लिख पाएंगे. क्या आएगा अभी मैं बताता हूं. ठीक है. तो आई होप यू गेट माई पॉइंट, बिकॉज इट इज सो मच बेसिक कि हमारा ध्यान ही नहीं जाता उस पर. It is so much basic. So did we write 4 characteristics here and 4 characteristics here? सारी की सारी 8 characteristics 100 में से 99 people will not be able to write. ठीक है. अब मैंने तुमको बता दिया है तो हो सकता है तुम लोग रट्टा मार लो. बट कैन यू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये इस तरह के इंस्टेंसेस अक्रॉस द पेपर आते हैं. ठीक है. एंड वेयर आई रियलाइज्ड, आई स्टिल रिमेंबर, आई थिंक वन ऑफ द एग्जाम्स जो था उसमें पूछा था, आई थिंक इट वाज 2010, इफ यू लुक इनटू द पीवाईक्यूज, प्री कंडीशंस फॉर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ कास्ट टोपोग्राफी. ठीक है. बुक में ऐसे 5-6 प्री कंडीशंस मेंशन होती हैं, बट उसको पढ़ते समय हम ध्यान ही नहीं देते. बट यूपीएससी ने क्या किया, उसको पूछ लिया. And I realized that this is something which I should not miss. So again, UPSC can surprise you by throwing to you the most simplest ball. ठीक है. And you can be clean bowled in that. So that is the concept of forward and backward linkages. I hope it is clear. Second पर आते हैं. Polarization and agglomeration. तो इसमें लिखो presence of a dynamic propulsive form. Presence of a dynamic propulsive form belonging to a leading propulsive industry belonging to a leading propulsive industry in a given location leads to generation of agglomeration tendencies. So agglomeration क्या होता है? If it is present in somewhere in space, other industries are tending to agglomerate. ठीक है? Agglomeration means concentration. ठीक है? So it leads to what? Concentration or agglomeration tendencies. आगे लिखो, such agglomeration tendencies arise because of external economies which are of the following three types. Which are of the following three types. ठीक है? एक्सटर्नल इकोनॉमी क्या है? It is a form of saving which is generated because of the factors, if you talk about, which are related with, not if you talk about of that production system, but more related with the other factors. Thus they are essentially what? They are external economies. So if you talk about these external economies, ये तीन टाइप की होती हैं. पहला है economies internal to the firm. Economies internal to the firm. So इसमें लिखो, these are lower average costs of production. These are lower average costs of production. Costs of production resulting from an increased rate of output. Increased rate of output due to rate of output due to organizational efficiency and effectiveness. Organizational efficiency and effectiveness. ठीक है? So tell me, for example, if the operations of the firm are located in same location, it would lead to cost cutting and better, or you can say more efficient management. More efficient management. ठीक है? So you can think कि अगर सपोज करो कि मेरा ऑफिस स्पेस एंड मेरा क्लासरूम एक जगह पर है. ठीक है? डज इट मीन्स दैट आई कैन डू कॉस्ट कटिंग? फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर ये अलग अलग जगह पर होते तो डज इट मीन्स कि मेरे को मल्टीपल इंटरनेट कनेक्शंस लेने पड़ते? यस और नो? हियर इफ यू टॉक अबाउट 2 इंटरनेट कनेक्शंस आर मोर देन एनफ, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली एक में प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है तो वी हैव द अदर। तो 2 जरूरत होती है क्लास चलाने के लिए। यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड कितना कॉस्टली है। तो अगेन otherwise it would have been 3, 1 for the office and again 2 for the classroom. तो मैंने वहां पर क्या किया, एक कट किया कॉस्ट, so it is what? It is economies generated, external economies are generated which are internal to the firm. If the classroom is here and the office is also here, अभी जैसे अभी ये क्लास खत्म होगी तो मेरी नेक्स्ट क्लास 12:30 बजे से, ठीक है, till it will continue till 5 o'clock. एंड कैन यू अंडरस्टैंड कि इसका मतलब मेरी जिंदगी का आधा टाइम क्लासरूम में बीतता है। एंड कैन यू इमेजिन इफ इट इज सो, इफ बोथ द प्लेसेस आर फार अवे, I wouldn't be able to see what is going on in the office, manage it properly. If it is nearby, does it lead to better or more efficient management? ठीक है? So again, that is what we are talking about. Economies internal to the firm. ठीक है? Then second, if you talk about is economies external to the firm. But internal to the industry. External to the firm but internal to the industry. So इसमें लिखो, these are associated with location of industry on account of close proximity of linked firms. As industry expands, its cost per unit output declines. Cost per unit output declines. ठीक है? फॉर एग्जाम्पल अब हम बात कर रहे हैं सेम इंडस्ट्री को बिलोंग करने वाली डिफरेंट फर्म्स। ठीक है? सो सपोज इसका एक एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं। सपोज देयर इज द इंडस्ट्री इज टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री। ठीक है? लेट अस बी मोर स्पेसिफिक, कॉटन टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री। And suppose cotton textile industry is located where? In Mumbai. Now there are different firms, firm A, B, C, D. They are all located where? In Mumbai. ठीक है? Now suppose out of this firm, one firm get a bigger consignment फॉर प्रोडक्शन। उसको एक बड़ा कंसाइनमेंट मिल गया प्रोडक्शन के लिए। ठीक है? सपोज एक फैशन इंडस्ट्री था। ठीक है? लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल एलन सॉली और एनी सच काइंड ऑफ अपैरल इंडस्ट्री। उसने जो टेक्सटाइल, मेनी मोस्ट ऑफ दीज फर्म्स दे आर नॉट देमसेल्व्स प्रोड्यूसिंग द रॉ टेक्सटाइल। ठीक है? दे विल बाय रॉ टेक्सटाइल फ्रॉम अदर्स बिकॉज अगेन देयर आर फर्म्स व्हिच कैन डू द सेम फिनोमेना इन चीपर प्राइस। तो उसने एक बड़ा कंसाइनमेंट दे दिया उसको ऑफ द टेक्सटाइल। अब इसको उस टेक्सटाइल को प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए इसको क्या रॉ मटेरियल चाहिए? कैन आई से इट रिक्वायर्स कॉटन थ्रेड। ठीक है? नाउ थिंक अबाउट दिस, क्योंकि ये पॉसिबिलिटी इन सब के लिए है। that in future they can get such bigger consignments. So does it means that they should have a reserve inventory of raw material? Yes or no? They should have a storage inventory of raw material होना चाहिए. But if all of them are located nearby, can we say कि ये अपनी inventory को छोटा रख सकते हैं? If such opportunity arises, can they borrow from the other firms? Yes or no? And in the process, the cost of storage of that inventory of raw material, will it reduce? Okay. So are they deriving benefit? Definitely they are deriving benefit. या हो सकता है और तरह के एडवांटेजेस हो सकते हैं. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल ए ने एक इनोवेशन किया, क्या उस इनोवेशन से बी, सी और डी को भी फायदा हो सकता है? डेफिनेटली हो सकता है. आई होप यू आर गेटिंग माय पॉइंट. कोचिंग इंडस्ट्री के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से एक्सप्लेन करूं तो सपोज देयर इज अ कोचिंग इंडस्ट्री एंड दिस कोचिंग इंडस्ट्री सडनली उसकी किस्मत खुल गई और उस साल उसके यहां से रैंक 1 आ गया. What will happen? Can I say, is it possible that the next batch which will be made, there will be huge demand? ठीक है, एटलीस्ट वो एडमिशन के टर्म्स में हो ना हो, बट वो रैंक 1 को देखने आने के लिए बहुत सारे लोग होंगे. क्या उसको एक बड़े क्लासरूम की जरूरत पड़ेगी? ठीक है, by being located near to each other, is it possible that they can rent or they can share the classrooms? Yes or no? Will not have to. Suppose अगर मेरी कुछ क्लासेस बढ़ जाती हैं, एक क्लास बढ़ जाती है एंड माई कैपेसिटी सपोज फुल, उस एक क्लास के लिए क्या मैं पूरा एक अलग से क्लासरूम ले लूं? कैन आई से इट इज इकोनॉमिकली इनएफिशिएंट? देयर माइट बी अदर कोचिंग्स जिनके के पास वो टाइम पीरियड में स्पेस खाली है. सो कैन आई रेंट only for that period? And again it will mean what? It will mean saving. So such is the second point. Economy is external to the firm but internal to the industry. ठीक है. Third is economies external to the industry but internal to the urban area. Internal to the urban area. So इसमें लिखो, these are also termed as urbanization economies. Urbanization economies, full stop. Such economies can be generated in the form of development of urban labor market, access to a larger market, and provision of wide range of services. ठीक है. So such economies are external to the industry but internal to the urban area. For example, suppose बहुत सारी इंडस्ट्रीज अगर एक अर्बन एरिया में लोकेटेड है, तो कैन आई से द गवर्नमेंट विल हैव टू टेक केयर एंड गवर्नमेंट विल हैव टू डेवलप एफिशिएंट ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सिस्टम. तो ये जो एफिशिएंट ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सिस्टम है, सपोज इट इज मेट्रो रेल. ठीक है. अब मेट्रो रेल जो होती है, हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में यू विल सी दैट रेल हैज इकोनॉमी ऑफ स्केल एंड दस व्हाट इट कैन ऑफर कंसेशनल प्राइसेस टू इट्स कस्टमर्स. ठीक है. तो इसका मतलब व्हाट विल हैपन विद द कॉस्ट of transportation Will it lead to reduction? There will be reduction in the cost of transportation, and what will happen with, can we say that there will be increased ease of ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, ये दोनों बढ़ जाएंगे. ठीक है, तो टेल मी, अगर कॉस्ट ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन रिड्यूस हो रहा है तो is it possible that the labor will be willing to work even in lower wages? ठीक है, so this would essentially mean what? Does it means that there will be cost of labor can reduce? ठीक है, if the ease of transportation has increased, does it means that the labor will be tension free or it will have less tension? ठीक है, so it will have less tension to labor, and does it means that the labor will be more efficient? Will the labor be more efficient in work? Obviously yes. So efficient labor का मतलब क्या है? Again it is a kind of saving in the cost of labor. ठीक है, so this type of economies are economies external to the industry but internal to the urban area. I hope it is clear. So these are the agglomeration economies which have been explained by Woodville. ठीक है, आगे लिखो. According to Woodville, such agglomeration tendencies result in polarization of economic activities around that growth pole. Due to which it will experience propulsive growth momentum. Due to which it will experience propulsive growth momentum. Trickle down effect. So इसमें लिखो, as the process of polarization and agglomeration continue, as the process of polarization and agglomeration continue, comma, ultimately there will be trickle down effect of the growth as other sectors of the economy would also begin to grow. Other sectors of the economy would also begin to grow due to the forward and backward linkages. To stop, thus if right choice of the propulsive firms and leading industry along with the pole location is done, comma, the entire region will benefit from the propulsive growth occurring in the growth pole. Propulsive growth occurring in the growth pole. Full stop. As a result, regional disparities will reduce in the later stages. In the later stages. Read this very carefully. What we have written: regional disparities will reduce. And reduce का मतलब ये नहीं है कि regional disparities are eliminated. ठीक है? There will be reduction in regional disparities, but it doesn't mean that they will be completely eliminated. ठीक है? So this is the basic if you talk about the growth pole theory. I hope it is clear. इसको एक बार फिर से पढ़ लेना. Tomorrow in the class, if you have any doubts, first we'll solve the doubts and then we'll talk about the criticism and application. ये बहुत important theory है, बहुत सारी जगह पर यूज आता है ग्रोथ पोल थ्योरी. ठीक है, so we'll talk about it tomorrow. Goodbye, take care. कल मिलते हैं.